Hello and welcome to the Stress Mastery Podcast. I am your host, Peggy Romero, and I thank you so much for joining me for the Saturday podcast. I appreciate you listening. You know, I love listening to the podcast every day. There's always so much to learn. It gives me so much to think about. And I'm guessing that you guys have a similar experience, and that's why so many people tune in over and over again. We never quit learning. We never quit growing, as long as we're willing, right? So this week we've been talking about self-control. So self-control is a noun. Is the ability to control oneself, and in particular, one's emotion and desires, or the expression of them in one's behavior, especially in a difficult situation. Sounds like the ego, what we learn about it, right? And the example sentence that they gave, Lucy silently struggled for self-control. Well, my ego's name is Lucy, and let me tell you, she's not usually very silent, and she's fighting me for self-control all the time. If I say up, she says down. If I say black, she says white. You know how it goes. But if you have some awareness, then you can see what's happening. I mean, you get the picture. Your ego is fighting yourself for self-control. So ego control and the want of control is just a program, and that's not self-control. Self-control is the self with a capital S. So the ego is the self with the little s. The ego is the little self, that part inside of us that wants to stay controlling. The ego is the part of you that wants everything to stay the same, stay in your cage, to remind you that you can't change, you shouldn't be trying to grow, that things will never be better, that they shouldn't be any different than they already are, and you needn't bother. So the ego is the one that talks you into eating the cookie and then condemning you for doing it. So thinking about self-control all week makes me realize that self-control is like a discipline. The more we practice it, the better we do. So if we want this, then we have to do that. What I mean is, if we want to be healthy, then we need to eat right, and we need to exercise, and we need to follow our program, get our sleep, drink our water. If you want to work on your personal growth, then it's going to take some time. You're going to have to figure out what works for you. If you make a decision to live in peace, then we'll have to take the steps to get there. So the doing, the becoming, takes self-control. I think self-control is part of living on purpose. We have intention. If we intend to live the life that we truly desire in our heart, it's going to take some planning. It doesn't just happen naturally, because naturally the ego runs rampant in our head. It just takes over our mind without us even realizing that that's what's happening. Until we practice and become very skillful at awareness, then the ego is going to be in charge. Until you realize it, then you can start taking control over it. So I can't tell you how many times I wondered why it was like I have a devil on one side and an angel on the other. And I wanted to be good, like my whole life. I wanted to be the angel, but that damn devil was so strong. Since I'd spent most of my life in a relationship with God, starting when I was a kid, I wanted to always do the right thing. I wanted to be a good person. I wanted him to be proud of me. And when I learned about the ego and I realized, oh, that's not me, I immediately named her Lucy, like Lucifer, because I had always felt like she was like a little devil. And also because my younger siblings used to say that I was like Lucy on Charlie Brown, and I was constantly bossing them around and giving them advice that they really never asked me for. So Lucy was the perfect name for my ego, no question. And so these past few years of work with stress mastery, my life has become so much less chaotic. It's not even funny. It is so much more peaceful. I've had so much more self-control, and I'm so grateful for that. But really the key was just understanding that the ego wasn't me, that I didn't have to be so perplexed anymore of why I was so double-minded. And learning to have self-control and to live the life that you truly desire is like a journey that never ends. We just take one step at a time to become the person that we want to be. And as soon as you get to that one step, to that level, whatever it is, as soon as you feel stable there, we're looking for the next step and the next step. There is no finish line. I mean, isn't that incredible? Not only can we become the person we truly want to be, we don't even have to stay there when we get there. We can come even better after that. Yay, what a wonderful life. So back to self-control. I believe the easiest thing to do is start first thing first. What is it that you want? I mean, what do you really want deep down in your heart? Because until you realize who you are inside, you can't know what you want. And the ego will be more than happy to step in and tell you, believe me. So work on your goals. They have to be connected to your purpose. For me, I call it my heart's desire, because I want all my goals and my dreams to come true, and I want them to be connected to my heart. Gone are the days when I'm trying to get something, a nicer car because I should have that or whatever. Well, ever since I was in my 30s, I think, I haven't had a car that broke down anymore. So before that, me and my friend Shelly, we'd go look for cars together. We had to make sure that the other person could push the car. I'm not kidding, because we always had to jump start each other's cars or push each other around to get them started. We were crazy back then. So anyways, talking about not basics, but just goals connected to your heart's desire. So connect to your purpose and figure out what you really want. Like, what is your heart's desire? And just as important, you have to know why you want that thing, no matter what it is. Then you got to figure out, is this the right season in my life? Is this the right time for me to start working on that? And if it's yes, then yay, you get to proceed. Then you get to start working on the planning. What am I going to need to do to get from A to B? Don't just try to jump in without a plan, because it doesn't usually work. And then also remember, you're going to have to consider the obstacles that are going to be in your way, because they're going to come for sure. Not only will you have your ego, you'll just have life in general. As Bill would say, there's going to be boulders in your path on the way up the mountain. And he's not kidding. They will come. And it doesn't matter what you're working on, no matter what the goal is. We start the same way. You're going to have to use your self-control muscle to stay on track, because it's hard to get started. But once you get started and gain some momentum, it starts getting easier. So if you're trying to lose weight, for example, you're probably going to have to skip the dessert, right? Change what you're eating. Make time to exercise. It's going to take some time and, knowledge. You're going to have to figure out how to learn and understand what type of exercise is best for your body type, instead of just jumping into the next fad. What foods should you be eating? How much calorie deficit do you need in order to lose a pound or two a week so that you stay on a good track? How much water are you going to need to drink? And how are you going to keep track of the water? Because it's not that easy. If you just say, I'm going to, check it off or whatever, you'll forget. So you're most likely going to have to drink a lot more water than you do now. And I don't know if you're a big soda drinker. I'm not, thankfully. But I've read lots of times that people have a really hard time losing weight when they're pumping themselves full of artificial sweeteners. So I'm not sure if it's true, but that's something to consider. You can't drink diet pop instead of water. So exercise. What time are you going to exercise? How are you going to fit it in? And if you have to get up earlier to do it, then what are you going to skip or take out in the evening so that you can get to bed an hour earlier so that you still get the right amount of sleep? You have to make a plan, no matter what it is, because there's only so many hours in a day. So anytime we're starting something new, got to make a plan for it. So then, of course, things are going to start going sideways, the boulder on the mountain, right? You're going to be really tired one day because you didn't get to bed in time, and you want to hit snooze. But you got to have self-control, the discipline. Get up and do it. Just get up. Don't hit snooze. Then tonight, you're going to be tired enough to go to bed on time. So you get right back on the plan. And also, willingness. If your plan doesn't work, then you have to decide ahead of time that you're going to be flexible, and you're going to have to be willing to rearrange your plan. Don't stay stuck into a routine that doesn't work for you. So let's just say that you find yourself in a bind financially, because there's way more life categories than just health. So you don't have enough money anymore because you keep charging things, and you've been charging them for years, and now you can barely afford all the payments. And so this is going to take some self-control, because you're going to have to stop. Just stop. Cut up your credit card. Stop charging things. Go without everything but your bare necessities for as long as you have to. Get them paid off. You don't have to have all the extras. As Dave Ramsey would say, eat rice and beans, and then eat beans and rice until you get out of debt. I'm telling you guys, it works. I've done it myself, and I've never gotten myself into debt again. Being in debt sucks, and it takes lots of willpower. Not willpower, as the world calls it, but willingness power. You have to keep connecting to your why, because you have to have enough self-control. Your friends are going to be asking you to go to the beach and to the movies or on vacation or whatever it is. Maybe you're used to going out to dinner 2 or 3 times a week. Or, oh, my kids really need this or that. Remember, need and want are two different things. Of course, we all have our basic needs, but we don't have to have everything we want. We need to stick to the plan. And it's so worth it. And once you get used to it, this gets easy too. Self-control, discipline. You'll have pride in yourself for a job well done. So when you get through the storm, it's so much better on the other side. There's like blue sky and no stress. Not worrying about money is very peaceful. So let's say that you bicker with your spouse or you argue with your kids all the time, constantly trying to have your way. I know a little bit about this. You want better relationships. You decide not to react anymore when they say things that you don't agree with or when they, try to jab you. It's usually not worth the argument anyways, so you bite your tongue. Use self-control. Stay the course. Remember, your ego's going to be popping in there trying to get you to react. They shouldn't talk to me like that. Who do they think they are? How much of this crap am I supposed to take? This is just ridiculous. But guys, the peace that you will find from keeping your big trap shut is amazing. And after a while, they quit trying to bait you because they know that you're not going to react. So the ego knows that your ego will not hop in anymore and defend yourself. So it takes all the fun away for the other ego. And so I made a plan to live in peace a couple years ago, and it was really tough because my life was completely full of strife everywhere I turn. And I have made such large strides in this, I can't even believe it. My life is completely different now. I am so completely different, and I love it. I want to remind you that no matter what you're working on, you have to have balance. Balance is a must. We need balance in our life. And this includes all 5 life categories. They're all equally important. We're never going to be truly happy. We're never going to be able to live in peace if we don't take care of all parts of our life. If you work your butt off to make a bunch of money and then you end up with nobody to share it with, what good is the money? If you look behind you and you realize that you hurt everybody in your path, how are you going to have peace? I mean, you won't, believe me. Take a look at the energy wake, that trail that you're leaving behind you, because it really matters. I actually know someone that I've been talking to a little bit lately to no avail, so I'm going to quit talking to them, but they're really tough and stuck in their ways. And they're not sorry for how they've acted in their past. They're smug, justified, living in pride basically. But you know what? Living alone, completely alone. They can't hold on to any friends because they've been so crappy to people their whole life. They don't understand why they don't have anyone to go on vacation with or hang out with now that they're retired. They have all the money in the world. They can afford to go anywhere they want for as long as they want. More than they could ever spend. But even their own kids are too busy for them. No relationship with their grandkids because they never took the time. They don't have friends anymore, and they're at home lonely with their piles of money and nothing else. Guys, it's not worth it. You have to have balance. We have to work on ourselves. Personal development, spiritual development, connection. Working on being a better person today than we were yesterday, and then an even better person tomorrow. I mean, that's what really matters, right? Or maybe you work on everything else, but you neglect your health for your whole life. Yikes, you're probably going to be sorry. We can only beat up our bodies for so long. I've done really well sticking to my diet and exercise program recently, but I needed to start 15 years ago because I was neglecting myself for so long, sitting at a desk in an office being completely stressed out. I knew what I should do. I knew that I could do it. I just refused to take the time. I didn't have any balance. So I've changed my identity recently. And of course, I have lots of boulders. I have people that actually say to me, Peggy, how do you think that sticking to your diet is more important than hanging out with your friends? Well, I do think it is, sorry. It's not normal to always be on a diet every day. Everybody needs to give themselves a break. You have to enjoy life sometimes. Well, excuse me, I think to myself, or Lucy thinks, is eating cheesecake really enjoying life? Because I'm here to tell you guys, I'm enjoying life so much better 3 or 4 sizes smaller than I was and not eating cheesecake. Of course, I still like cheesecake, but feeling good feels so much better than a bite of cheesecake. I'm so much more alive, more energetic. And you'll feel better when you start realizing your dreams too. Dreams come true. They really do. And when you're reaching your goals and when you're following through on the plans that you make for yourself, when you have that new job, when you get the degree, you lose the weight, you live debt-free, you stop arguing with your spouse, learning to be aware all day long so you can see the ego, oh my gosh, life will be so much better, because the ego will be trying to rob you of your joy and your peace. So we have to pay attention. So remember, put yourself as number one. It's not selfish. Not listening to the ego. That's why it's so important to separate the eyes. Know who has conscious mind control. This will help you stick to your plan. This is self-control. Like I said, control of the small self, that's the ego. The self with the little s, and staying in touch with you, the big S. Selfish with a capital S, as Bill and David call it. That is your true self. That's the important self. And I know that it might feel really uncomfortable when you start with this, and it's okay. Just do it anyways, I'm telling you. Because you will see the people around you will rise up. You'll be able to lift their energy as your energy rises. When you're a better person, you automatically lift up everybody else. It's amazing. You're growing stronger as a person, so they're going to become stronger too. It's just the way it goes. And even if they don't encourage you on your growth at first, it's okay. Even if they don't cheer you on as you make progress, it's okay. Because you're not doing it for anyone else. You're doing it for you. The capital S, remember? It's just your ego that wants them to compliment you anyways. So I say they probably will get on board with you eventually. And you know what? If they don't, it's okay. Yeah, they might drop away. And if they weren't for you, then they're not meant to be here for you now. And when it comes to relationships, we have to be honest and realize that not all relationships are meant for the rest of our lives. God puts people in our life for a time, for a season. Maybe you help them and they're on their way. They're soaring to where they're supposed to go. That's their journey. Or maybe you needed them to teach you something. Maybe you needed them for your growth. But if they're not for you now, then let them go. Don't try and fight the inevitable. That's not what they're meant for. There will be other people right around the corner just waiting to embrace the new you. And most of the people who I talk to now only know the new me. They don't even know the old me. They're not trying to hold me back or keep me in that box that I was in when I was in my 20s or 30s. Becoming the person that you've always wanted to be is a fantastic thing. It's a journey and it's worth it. It's a trek. So I've told you guys before that I'm really sad that me and Joe broke up. I didn't want to. I thought that I'd stay with him. But oh my gosh, I can't even imagine my life how it was before. Wondering every day, what did I say wrong now? How did I hurt his feelings? What did I do? What wasn't quite right? Why is he so unhappy? I wonder why that disappointed him so bad. What a stinking burden I carried for years. It wasn't even my stuff. He's not happy because he's not happy. He wasn't happy when I didn't work on myself. He wasn't happy when I did work on myself. He wasn't happy when I fought with him. He wasn't happy when I kept my mouth shut. He wasn't happy then, and he's not happy today. But you know what? I am. So I started making up a song for myself a few years ago. When he would blah, 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 I would just think to myself, I live in peace. I have a whole song. I'm not going to sing it. But it helped me counteract my ego. I mean, it worked. I had a strategy. Just sing. So I stayed with him. I tried everything. I even told him, if we ever break up, I get to leave with no regret because I'm doing everything I possibly can. Because I listen to you. I hear you. I try to understand you. I care about you. I work on whatever I can that you're willing to work on. I'm a really good partner. You're going to lose a really amazing woman. Someone who loves you and cares about you. But once I give you all I have to give, there will be no coming back. So we broke up and I live in peace. Unfortunately, he lives in regret because he wasn't trying his hardest. We don't ever want to live in regret. It's so not worth it. Life is too short to live in regret. And I know lots of times we have, unresolved problems. So like regret program comes from unresolved conflicts in relationships. Excuse me. So if you have regret, deal with it. I mean, maybe you really did hurt somebody. Maybe you were in some place in your life where you hurt them. Call them, maybe. Maybe you need to do that. Write them a letter if you need to. Or write a letter and don't send it to them. But if you regret allowing someone to treat you poorly, then you got to forgive yourself and just move on. There's no time for regret. You have a wonderful and purposeful life right before you. Go after it. Don't allow the ego to steal your joy or your peace. It's just not worth it. You really can quiet the ego and stay connected to your true self, honestly. You can become the person that you want to be, and it's not too late. It's never too late. Start now. I would say that self-control is taking control of your thoughts and emotions, living on purpose, sticking to the plan. And in order to do this, you're going to have to quiet the stinking ego. If you haven't named your ego yet, please do it. Just do it right now. It doesn't matter what the name is. It just matters that you see it. That's all. There's like this whole new world in there, talking about in that head of yours. Once you realize the ego is not you, you just have to become aware of it. And that's all you need for self-control, I think. So thank you guys for tuning in today. And you can follow me at PeggyWithPurpose. Email me at Peggy@livingrightwithBillCourtright.com or find me at PeggyRomero.com. That is it for today's podcast. I thank you so much for tuning in. Why don't you share the podcast with a friend? The more positive energy that we can share, then the more we lift each other up. Even a smile can lift somebody up. So do it on purpose. And don't forget, guys, our mission here is to create a shift in the planet. And you can join us on that mission by simply like, share, and subscribe. Or by smiling at somebody. The links are right below the show notes. As always, until next time, stay inspired.
Recording stopped.